let's see. So I put as my very first thing the PowerApp program. And I'm really excited about this. I have already reached out to several people that are very interested in participating in the PowerApp program. So if you haven't heard about that, I put a link in this and I'll drop the slides into the chat. But I think it's really interesting that, Microsoft is doing this free at no charge to anybody. And it's 3 months, 12 weeks, I guess, 8 to 12 hours a week. It's self-paced, but it's also lots of different types of learning that they're going to utilize during this 12-week period. And for career switchers with no technical experience. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. You finish. I'll throw my thoughts in there after.
Yeah. So the first person that I told about this, they said, "Well, are you worried about your job?" And I just laughed. I'm like, "I'm not. There's so much information out there to learn. Like, catch me if you can." Like.
Yeah. There's supposedly 7.4 million users of Power Platform today, according to Microsoft. I don't know how they got that count specifically, but that's what they came up with. And Charles Lamanna, who is the head of Dynamics and Power Platform, right under Satya Nadella, CEO, said that his vision, Charles said his vision is to go to 74 million, or he's like, maybe even 740 million, which I think he's, kind of just throwing the number out there. I'm not sure if it's going to ever get that big, but he's pretty serious about doing that. And that's one of the programs to make that happen. It should still be mentioned that it's not guaranteed that you get into this program, by the way. You have to apply to it. And if you get accepted, then you can do all those things that you're just talking about. So let's see how that works.
I did sign up to volunteer. They are looking for volunteers. Nice. If you go to the site. So it's 2 hours, 2 to 4 hours. Like they have different time commitments that you can make. So curious to see, I just want to learn more about this program. I'm excited to see, maybe some people I know go through it and get their feedback on it. I do think that Microsoft has this idea that they are going to make Power Platform, maybe like Excel, something that's just out there and everybody uses it to some extent and things like that. And I don't know that they're going to get there, but this is going to be a lot of fun. Especially because I think they're investing so much into Power Platform. Like it definitely, it makes it better for us as well as developers because we're going to get a lot more functionality, I think, faster because there is so much focus on it.
Agree.
So if you guys have not done it already, I'll get a link and put it in there, but Microsoft is looking for referrals for the PowerUp program. They do want to fill it up. So there is a site you can go to sign up as an ambassador. So you can tell other people about that. And eventually at some point, they're going to send you a barcode. I haven't gotten mine yet, but that you can use to have people register and sign up and you'll get credit. And also, if anyone's looking to volunteer, we might end up having a support group for volunteers at some point.
Thoughts are open if anybody wanted to chime in, if you know anything about the program, or if you have any questions.
When is that kicking off?
Pam?
I do not know when it's kicking off. I know they're taking applications now, but okay. Yeah, I don't know when it's actually kicking off. Let's see. I have been already talking to people about it, though. There's so many people that have this kind of technical aptitude, but they don't know how to make that transition into IT. And I think this is a great way to do it. I read that, so there is a certification. Let's see, if I click on this, you guys probably can't see it. Hold on a second. there is a certification. It's a consulting certification that the Power Platform Consultants that this gets you, that you should be able to pass at the completion of the exam. So let's see. And there we go. So apply for the program. They've got some great stats on there. It looks like they're going to cover everything. It does not guarantee you a job. That is for sure. The power up stories that they were telling at the conference in the keynote, I thought were fantastic.
Agree.
Yeah. So you apply, learn, get certified. And I've told people for a long time, I don't actually work. Like I build things for people who do work, but but it's different in IT because you really are doing support and you are supporting other people as they do work. And I think Power Platform changes that a little bit because I think it's going to empower people outside of IT to do a lot of things on their own that previously we might have done. So very short application to apply for the program. Let's see. This is the one thing that I think was interesting as far as kind of breaking up your skill level. They are looking for a career switcher. So I think if you can code and set up software applications, and maybe in here, I think that there's a really good chance that you don't get selected unless unless there's room for it and they don't get enough applications. That's just my gut. I don't know that for a fact.
They're looking for stories for sure. They're looking for people who they can actually put on the pedestal, say, look, see, this person was driving a forklift and now they're building a power app.
Yes.
Having
Yes.
said that, and I'm never afraid to speak up about these things publicly, so I will be on record of saying that it's going to be a challenge. People who are not technical, it's not just like drag this text box here and drag the button here and whoa, we got a form, or let's make a dashboard by doing this. No, it's not as simple. We all know that. And there's real repercussions, from business wise if you do it the wrong way. Or if you're co-authoring, which we're going to talk about also, you're co-authoring with someone and they are building the Power App. And now you're chiming in and doing certain things, which breaks something. You're like, what the heck? So there's definitely going to be a lot of hurdles like that. I definitely see that. I think the vision is very honorable. That's the word that I like to use with this thing, very honorable. But the reality is much more difficult and challenging. And I really hope we get there, but it's going to be a lot of hurdles in the way.
What even happens to us in IT? You make a change and unexpected results come in all the time. So for somebody non-technical, that's going to be just that much
Can you
harder.
imagine? Oh my
No,
God.
I
Same
just did it in
thing.
SharePoint myself 2 weeks ago and broke something, changed the whole workflow for everybody. So yeah, it's going to be a challenge for people.
Yeah.
But it's cool
Already
that they're doing it.
already when you have people who are building macros, just regular Excel applications, you're like, oh, wait a minute, you don't want to do this and all. And now we're going to give them a whole lot more power. So with power comes responsibility, and there's going to have to be really good governance, good guidelines, good policies, and here's what you can do, here's what you cannot do, and really hand-holding and upskilling in the right way before you just open it up to people. And that part of it, I think folks like yourselves, myself, and everybody else, we have to be concerned about because Microsoft is looking to sell a lot more licenses. That's what they're looking to do. But we have to be careful also, obviously, that yes, we do that, open it up, but do it in the right way for what it's worth.
So last year, I was talking to some consulting companies that were hiring, and they were struggling to fill positions. They had so many positions open. They're getting so many requests for Power Platform work, and they're having such a hard time finding people. So when I saw that they're, getting people ready for this Power Platform functional consultant, I was like, oh, I wonder how much of this is a response that they've gotten from Microsoft partners who've been like, we have work out there, but we can't find people.
Yeah.
I mean, they were one of them had like 30 positions they needed to fill within a few months to
Wow.
for a contract. Like a lot of people are calling consultants in and asking them for help. So these people can be paired, I think, with consultants that have more experience. So now I'm just like, okay, I feel like now I probably need to just go and like check myself though and make sure that I can pass this test.
Yep.
Okay, so let's see, I'm gonna stop that.
Sorry, we got stuck on the first one.
I think that one is really important.
That's a big one.
Yeah. Let's see. So let's go back. So the second one was, where's my slide? Community. And this isn't a big long one, but I thought it was really important. I don't know if you guys noticed, like the emphasis on community. What was that thing that they had everybody screaming after community? So they talked about that a lot. They had a swag booth set out and they were giving out community stickers. Hold on. I've got a couple. They're a little crinkled. They got stuck in my backpack. But it really is all about sharing is caring. There's like the no jerks. Like if you go to, what is that, Planet Fitness, and they have the rule about, no big,
No power lifters.
power lifters making other people feel intimidated or uncomfortable or whatever. Like, I feel like Microsoft kind of adopted that a little bit.
I think you mean like no gym intimidation.
Ah,
Is what it is.
I've never heard that before, but it makes so much sense as soon as you said that. Interesting.
Called the lunk alarm.
So they did talk a lot about community, but one of the things that I did, I think just yesterday, is I went to many of the resources that they referenced. So they talked about Power BI Women, Power Addicts, and I went to all those things and there's no activity. There's like no recent activity. And so I was like, well, that's kind of a bummer. Like, wah, wah. I was like all excited. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to get involved. And then there's like nothing to get involved in. The Power Addicts did have a lot of, they have a YouTube channel. And so they have a lot of old videos, but I think the most current video was like July of 2021.
Oh, wow.
Or maybe it was July of this year. Maybe it was July of this year, but still there's like nothing current. So I don't know. What I'm hoping maybe is that them talking about it at the conference, that it will reactivate some of that activity, because I tried to see if there was anything local here. And there is like a Dynamics user group here, but there hasn't been any activity. So I'm hoping that maybe them talking about it will generate some of that all around the country. I don't know.
Yeah. So where is everyone? I know
Colorado,
where you are,
right?
Asif.
Yeah, Denver.
Denver.
Yeah.
Heather?
Indianapolis.
Indianapolis. Roger?
Green Bay.
What's that?
Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Green Bay. Oh, okay. So I'm in Knoxville. We have a pretty active user group here. So I thought it was interesting because we use Meetup, and so I'm at the swag booth, and they have this whole the QR code for create your community here. So I went ahead and I did that, and I saved it. I refreshed, it was there, and then I went back the next day, and it was gone.
What?
And I was like, okay.
That's not cool.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go back in and see if I can figure out, what happened or where it went or create a new one. I don't know, but I think especially if they continue to do this, you're gonna see more and more community groups.
Yolanda, are you interested specifically in Dynamics side of things?
No, I'm really Power Platform, but so I was just looking to see what was available here. Power BI is really what I'm looking for help with, because I'm pretty solid on Automate and Form or Power Apps.
Apps.
But I thought even if I could hook into a Dynamics group,
Mhm.
those could be kind of my people, and there's just nothing here.
Yeah. So I can speak to the Dynamics part of things. The other part of things I used to be very deep in, but not anymore. With Dynamics User Group, DUG, Doug, they are the ones who held a conference 2 weeks ago where I went called Dynamics Con Live. They also have dynamicscon.com a virtual. And they're trying to also take their attendance at a much higher level than it has been. It's not been that great. That's just the reality. But they're looking for volunteers to take up the reins and say, okay, I will be the leader or I will serve as the facilitator, main thing on that, even if you're not deep into a specific area. So I'm actually looking into taking on that mantle for Chicago and trying to help, build that Doug community here. If you're interested in Denver, maybe I can definitely put you up with the right people who will
Okay.
support you. Yeah, so send me an email if you can.
Okay, I'll do that.
You have my email address in case if you don't. Actually, you should, right? That's where the invite came from.
Yep.
Okay.
For whatever reason, I cannot drop this into the chat, but I am going to just put out a link that anybody can see.
Are you talking about the presentation?
Yeah, yeah, I put links on each slide, so if we go by something or we run out of time, you can look at it. All right, let's see. So the next thing was the cards in Microsoft Power Apps. Is anybody using cards already?
Aren't they just many applications? Isn't that all it is?
Micro
Is
apps is what they call them,
micro
yes.
apps? Yeah.
So you can use them in different places to share, collect, and connect data. So it's built on adaptive cards. And so I've seen adaptive cards, but I honestly haven't done a lot with them. So I was just wondering if anyone has.
Not yet.
No, so that was something that I think that they were excited about. And I'm curious to find somebody who's using them and get some feedback from them on that.
I think the idea behind this, and at the end of the day, it's all marketing anyway. As Yolanda found out when she went to all those things and they're like, oh, there's nobody here except me. Adaptive cards is definitely a good vision because you have these small tiles that appear directly on your home page of whatever, right? And then it's surfaced through Viva Connections, through Teams, and it's on your SharePoint intranet. And they're going to come up with there's one thing with Viva Amplify. I don't know if you guys heard of Viva Amplify yet. It's yet another SKU that's coming out. Where once again you take all the news from different places as well as adaptive cards and put it all in one place as your main central intranet location. The idea at the end of the day is to surface your existing applications within the Microsoft platform, meaning any application, SAP, coming from Salesforce or whatever you're using, put it into the Microsoft platform so it's accessible there. And I think adaptive cards and even the micro apps with Power Apps is all the same along the same lines. You have your own Power App that you have built. You have the SAP app, you have the HR app, and everything is just right there, and it just pushed out everywhere. So currently, a lot of that stuff is a lot of hype, a lot of marketing, good marketing. But the vision, once again, it's a good vision. But people have to buy into it before doing a lot more to it.
So can you tell us anything else about Viva Amplify?
It's not free, first of all. It looks a bit like Viva Connections, which is free. But Viva Amplify, the idea is that you get your news from SharePoint news, Yammer news, stuff that's happening in a particular Teams channel, let's say, and everything else, and you're amplifying all that news, maybe even outside of Microsoft properties, into one location. That location being a regular SharePoint site, right? But all these connections that are happening through this Viva Amplify model. It's not even in beta or anything yet. There's information out there about it. That's why I can talk about it publicly, but it's no idea when it's going to go to GA. No idea how much it's going to cost either so far.
Gotcha. That reminds me, I had a question about the Viva licensing for Viva Connections, and I'm just going to ask you since we're here. For Viva Connections, everybody that's using it has to be licensed. Is that correct? It's not just for the person maybe who's setting it up initially or something like that.
Well, Viva Connections is free, right? It is.
Okay.
That's the only Viva that's free. Everything else costs money. Learning, Insights,
Okay.
Amplify. Connections idea being that if you have a SharePoint license for the person, if you have a Teams license for the person, then the person is good to go in consuming the content. So any intranet site or a home site in Teams as a home page. That's it.
Okay, I came across something and I was like, oh, I'm gonna need a license for that. And I can't remember what it was now. So
Maybe it
good.
was Topics, Viva Topics.
It might have been, yeah.
That's a lot of money and very complex. Maybe it was
Interesting.
that.
Gonna put that on a list for like a future topic to talk maybe a little bit more about Viva, because I think that's interesting. Has anyone played around with Loop? And that's really what I thought about when I saw the cards, when they were talking about the adaptive cards. I just kind of wondered, like, I feel like some of that functionality might also, the kind of micro apps might also be available in Loop.
Anyone done anything with it? No.
I've done very little with it. Very little. I was very excited about it when it came out, and then I never heard anything else about it. Seemed to kind of like.
I feel like that's kind of what happens with a lot of these products. There's a lot of hype around them when they first come out, and then, they don't really get adopted very well.
Some do take off, and then that's the whole thing about how Microsoft does it, and they do it really well. Where let's go ahead and put all these ideas out there. Let's see what the traction is. Let's see, and if people need help, they are good about providing that help and support. And once it takes off, then they put a lot more effort and money and additional marketing behind it, and of course, charge you good money for it too. That's.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff, which in theory sounds really good, but not everything takes off.
Yeah, that's right. Who's gonna go? Anyone gonna go out and explore adaptive these cards in PowerApps? So the next one was co-authoring, and I'm curious to see what anyone else thinks about co-authoring and PowerApps. I have my ideas. I don't want to.
You want to maybe describe exactly what it is, and then
Yeah.
they can,
So
everybody can comment on it.
The co-authoring in PowerApps is going to allow. So you know how you're in a document and you can have multiple people in there editing, and you can kind of have your chat off to the side. It really builds on that comments and conversation off on the side that you have, and it allows multiple people to be working in a single Power App on different parts of it at the same time. So I think they tried to do something like this. I think they announced it maybe kind of early on with Build. And the way that you did that is that you would go into PowerApps and you would connect that to GitHub and or whatever you're using. We're using GitLab, so you could connect it to your source code and it would kind of use that to do some versioning. I feel like that's evolved quite a bit, that story from then to now. And what I saw, the real-time changes that you're able to make and see and interact, it looks like that's going to be a much better experience. And this is available in preview next month. So I have some concerns about multiple people working in the same Power App at the same time, and kind of for a couple of reasons. One, for the one that we talked about, which is somebody who's not necessarily sure about what they're doing. But it does seem like you're going to be able to roll back your changes and go back to a previous version. But if you have people who are making lots of changes and you're trying to roll back to a previous version, that doesn't sound like it would be an optimal situation to me. I think
Sounds
one
like
of
you're
the
gonna have problems.
What's that?
Yeah.
Sounds like there's going to be some problems with that at some point, causing corruption or even overlapping code that, yeah.
It might just be untrusting, right? Like,
Well,
maybe this can work.
history.
I don't know.
What do you guys think, Yolanda? Heather?
No, it
Anything else?
scares me. Like
Yeah.
I've broken my own things by myself and I just can't
don't need help.
imagine. Yeah. I just can't imagine having someone else in there. It just seems very kludgy, cumbersome.
Well, where they lost me was they talked about having your pro developers and your citizen developers all in the same space working together. And I was like, that's not going to work.
Oh,
There goes the community.
Right. It's
Any
a
thoughts from you, Heather?
select community.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. It's like,
No, I mean,
It seems like it would be really hard to get back to the right version. If you can go back to a version that you want that was working, I don't know. Yeah, it makes me nervous. Then I just wouldn't share it with anybody until I'm ready to publish it.
yeah, if you had multiple forms that people are working on, and let's say one person is working on one form, how's that versioning working? Like, are you rolling back the version just for a specific form? In which case, having that connected to something like GitHub, where you can, maybe roll back to specific versions on different things, that would make a lot of sense. So maybe they do have something like that. There's also saves and then there's publishes. So maybe you roll back to the last publish, but I mean, that could be really inconvenient if you have other people that have worked on other things. So, and was it Shane Young?
yeah.
He was talking a little bit about keeping your Power App simple, and there's a lot of reasons to do that, and to not have them so big. And so the idea of building a Power App that's so big that I think they had 3 or 4 people in their little video demo out there that were all on the same app, and maybe they had different parts that they were working on or something like that. But I was like, that kind of seems counterintuitive, because I do agree with him that keeping your Power Apps kind of focused and specific makes it much easier to manage, and to have something that is that big that you have that many people working on it doesn't give me warm fuzzies.
I don't know about you guys, but I've had many times where I'm in a document on one computer. I go to a different computer and I go into the same document. Now it's the same user, not even a different user, and there's conflicts. There's already, which version do you want to keep? Like, well, I want to keep the latest one. What do you mean? Whatever's the latest. And that kind of stuff happens with one person, 2 different computers. It compounds when you have 2 different people, 3 different people. And we're talking about people who are the same level of technical skills working on something as simple as Microsoft Word, right? Now you're talking about the complexity going way through the roof with Power Apps, first of all. Then you got different people of different skill levels in the same place, doing things, moving stuff around. What if I take one text box and I move it here, and the exact same time Sammy is doing this here, and someone else, like, oh my God, it's just the complexities just go through the roof. So I don't know how all this stuff is going to work out in reality. But sorry, I don't want to be negative, but I'm trying to be pragmatic about it, that it's going to take some genius level stuff to make this work right.
So I didn't follow up on it, but you put that post out about the conference, and one of the comments in there was like, yay, co-authoring, I can't wait. I was like,
yeah, good luck.
I feel like replying, why? I mean, what is it about that that's so appealing? Okay, I will. I'll get back on there and see if I can find out why, because it does not sound right to me.
Absolutely. I was wondering the exact same thing with that comment. I don't know if you guys have saw that I put an article out there on today's Tuesday, so Monday morning, on the Power Platform conference for last week. There's a few comments there right now, but just understanding what people mean when they put a comment out there is super important to me also, to understand, okay, you're excited about certain thing. Why? Tell me why. In my article, I went both pro and con. I talked about, yes, great idea, great vision, but here's something to be aware of, in terms of governance, policies, and stuff like that. So otherwise, it's going to make all of our lives more difficult. We don't want that.
I think we're going to have to see it. Like I said, see how it's set up and how that works. So the next one was enhanced SAP integration, and apparently Microsoft acquired Clear Software. They have picked up 150 flows and 25 Power Apps specifically for SAP business processes. So is anyone using SAP besides me?
Nope.
Okay. We won't talk about this long then. I think everyone said no. So SAP is just a nightmare to work with and to try and get information out. And so the SAP developers kind of put together these canned things for us that we can get to easily, because to try and get that information yourself, it's just, you have to know it and be very familiar with it to do that and make it work. So this idea that it can be operational in a few hours, that's super exciting. So I hope they do things like that with more connectors, especially with applications, that are commonly used.
I wonder how SAP feels about all this, because now you're taking that data out and making it more accessible, which is great. But I wonder how the other big vendor, SAP is of course huge, how they feel about that. We'll see.
You made me think of something. So one of the things that they mentioned is that it's going to work on-prem and in the cloud, which also, if it's working with on-prem, to some extent, maybe that does undermine like the effort to get everybody to move SAP into the cloud. So I don't know. We'll have to see what that looks like and how that story goes. That's a really good point. Integrated virtual agent and Power Apps. So I looked this up last night because I kind of remember them talking about this, but I wasn't exactly sure what it looked like. And basically it's going to allow you as a maker, like, to go into a virtual agent and get connected with someone your admin has designated as an expert, and they're going to match you up. So I just was trying to think about my own organization in particular, and I thought nobody is going to want to be nominated or assigned to be, on the hook for a virtual agent to ping them in the middle of the day and say, hey, can you answer some questions for me? I've been using Power Apps for 3 minutes and I have lots of questions.
Oh my God.
Well, it's not like we're getting pinged, the rest of the day for other stuff too. So, and then have that jump in, that would be big.
You almost need to staff somebody to support it. I just can't imagine a scenario where this is successful unless you designate somebody or you have some to monitor it, and that's their job.
Yeah.
So, but fun.
Agreed.
So
I don't see that happening. Having somebody staffed just for that, I don't think that's going to happen, at least not in my organization.
Now, if you roll out Power Apps to the entire organization,
then maybe.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly. People are going to have
I don't
questions.
see that happening either.
Yeah.
Well, Microsoft won't hit their 74 million goal without your help, Roger. Come on.
Right. Is anyone else sharing Power Apps or Power Automate with the entire organization? We're encouraging that kind of citizen development.
Oh.
One of the things, it's something that we're working on, and one of the solutions that Microsoft proposed to overcome our concerns was your default environment is personal productivity, and they recommended making that turn off sharing there so that people can create their own Power Apps for themselves, but they can't share them without really reaching out to IT. There's a Center of Excellence that has them fill out a form and you can have some approvals and things like that. But this would let people kind of do things on their own and then, you know, just conditionally share them. The one caveat to that, which doesn't get talked a lot about, is that if you customize a SharePoint list with Power Apps, it uses those permissions regardless of the permissions in the environment. So just kind of a little fun fact.
Interesting.
Anyone
That
that
could be bad.
is, what's that?
That could be bad. Sorry, I don't know if my mic's working properly or not, but yeah, you could have some real problems if you're overriding permissions like that.
So if you create a Canvas app and you connect to SharePoint, it uses the environment defaults. So the only way that you could bypass those environment defaults is if you go into a SharePoint list and you do customize this list and it opens it up in Power Apps and you make customizations there. If you do it from there, it's going to inherit the list permissions. So I haven't done a ton of testing on that. That was just in a conversation that I had with Microsoft because I was curious about how limiting that sharing was going to impact that. But interesting. Well, I'm sure hear more about that as people get more into Power Apps. So roadmap items, the export to PDF is the #1 feature request and coming soon. So they had a session on roadmap items and they said that they are definitely watching the feedback that they're getting and the feature requests. So named formula, I put a link in here to the roadmap. There's named formulas. It looks like they're doing a lot or attempting to do a lot to help with some of the responsiveness issues or limitations that we've had with Power Apps. So I'm excited to see where it goes. I think I had some initial hesitation about Power Apps because it did seem like there were just too many limits. But the fact that they're rolling out improvements and enhancements so frequently, like it does give me a lot of hope for doing more with Power Apps. I didn't ask. Is anybody excited about any of these, anything coming up on the roadmap or have any features they've been like sitting on the edge of their seat waiting for?
The export to PDF is huge because
Yeah.
I do that today, but anybody who does it, you know, you have to go through all those iterations to get it there. So that would be huge.
Agree. As simple as it sounds, it's a there's a pretty big use case scenarios of for it.
Right.
Export to PDF, yeah.
So the PowerApp Creator Kit, that's something that there were a couple of sessions. The one thing that they did at the Power Platform Conference that I loved is they had all short sessions on the first day. So it gave me a chance to go to a lot of different things and they didn't go in depth on them. Like, I mean, only what you can do in 25 minutes, but I thought that that was great because it really actually changed my agenda and the sessions that I was planning on attending the rest of the time because I was like, there's lots of new stuff that I kind of want to check out. And there were a couple of new things. And after I saw 25 minutes of it, I was like, yeah, I can scratch those off my list. So I thought that was really cool. But this creator kit has a bunch of Fluent UI controls. So I haven't used them, haven't played around with them, but I'm actually going to do that. And I'm pretty excited to do that. I have some concerns because it does show up as like a third-party tool. It's because you download it from GitHub. So am I going to be able to get it approved by Cyber? What kind of bugs does it have? How do I get fixes? And am I introducing something into my environment that is potentially just technical debt waiting to happen? Like, is it just going to get abandoned in 3 months? So, however,
Good questions.
Right. It makes a much nicer user interface. So kind of excited to see that. Has anyone downloaded it? This came out before the conference. I want to say a month ago or so. Yeah. So the last thing was Power Pages. There were tons of sessions. I did a presentation on this about a month ago. Like, I am so excited about Power Pages. So I am just, is anyone else looking into Power Pages, thinking about using it? Did you guys go to any of those sessions, or have you heard of it? Are you researching it?
I think we could describe it first, right? As to what is it? Why should anybody care?
So if you use PowerApp Portals, Power Pages is the next iteration of PowerApp Portals. So at some point, it's going to move to general availability, and then your PowerApp Portals are automatically going to become Power Pages. So it's kind of a rebranding for those, but they have some really big improvements. Has anyone used it, and has anyone not heard of them?
I have
Used
not
it.
heard of it and have not used it.
Have you used the PowerApp Portals?
Do not.
Okay, so what it is it's a website. It's an anonymous access website that when you go into Power Apps and you go to create a new Power App, one of your options in there is a Power App Portal, which nobody clicks on. It's very intimidating once you do click on it. It's not intuitive at all. So you really have to want to figure it out the way it's currently set up. But the new version of Power Pages, it's just like spinning up, and I think it's built on Azure Web Services. So it's just literally spinning up a hosted website, but the Power Pages has almost a SharePoint interface. So do you remember, like, in the old versions of SharePoint, how I think it was like 2010, where you could sign in as another user and you could sign in and sign out? So it has that up there built into it. So your users can go to this anonymous access site and then they can log in. So if you have people who are external users and you don't really want to have them in your tenant or have them in your Azure AD, their account in there, what you can do is you can spin up Power Pages. You can create an anonymous access site. You can give them a code that they can use to log into the site. They can log in and use their Google account. They can use their Facebook account. They can use their Twitter account, which means you don't have to manage it and you don't have to babysit it. You don't have to reset their passwords. You don't have to worry about their MFA, any of that. So, and they never get access to your tenant. They only get access to that hosted website. And on top of that, it's Power Apps. So you can do Power Automate, you have Dataverse, you have your Power Apps. So you can have forms, you can easily put out information. Like, so think of maybe like a homeowners association, or, you know, maybe a baseball team, after school events. People can go, they can log in, they can see information that maybe you don't want everybody seeing. They can fill out a form, they can leave information, and you have all the security controls that you have with Power Apps. So you can still secure that information and you can easily share it as well.
Nice.
Yeah, it's very, very exciting.
So it's not open to like the whole world. It's only open to the people that you share it with, but those people don't have like guest accounts in your tenant in AD.
So it is an anonymous access site. They only see the information on that homepage that you give them access to. So there's two settings. So in admin, your site can be set to private, which is internal only, or it can be set to public. Once it's public, like, you add a domain to it. So it, you know, they kind of give it a default name, but you kind of want to add a domain to it. So it could be a subdomain for, you know, something.yourcompanyname.com. They go to that site. So it still looks like it's affiliated with your company. When they go in and log in, that's when they would get access to additional information, but it's still an anonymous access site that anybody can go to. So you could use that as your company webpage and then just have vendors or things like that go and log in. I think they envision it being a little more specific, like, okay, I'm going to create, you know, a site for vendors. I'm going to create a site for partners or, you know, clients, that you have a couple of different ones. But one thing I'm going to throw out there is that we don't know what the licensing is going to look like yet. So important fact.
Very important. In fact, that's the main thing that most people who are talking about Power Pages are talking about. And same thing with the portal before. That licensing currently the way it is, it's not feasible. It's not going to work.
I did find it was one of the Power Pages product owners from Microsoft was on a webinar, and I can't think of the name of the person, but I've watched a ton of YouTube about this, and he was talking and said, I don't know exactly what it's going to look like yet. We haven't announced it. We haven't finalized it, but it's going to be easy to understand, and there's going to be no hidden fees that are going to surprise you. And I just laughed because, I mean, they have conferences, like several day-long conferences on Microsoft licensing. The idea that there's going to be something that's easy to understand, like,
Yeah.
it's funny.
Sounds too good to be true.
Yes.
Which means, you know,
Easy to understand. If you have, they actually have a certificate program for licensing. So maybe if you pass the certificate program, it's easy to understand.
I don't
It's
want you
easy
to be jealous, but I did pass that.
Whoa.
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
Know who to call
Congrats.
now.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's
And
right.
I'm still not an expert. Like,
See, that's the thing, that you're an expert at that point in time,
yes.
right? What about after the day, after the week, after the month, after? Microsoft keeps on changing things so much.
And I
So I
still
don't,
didn't feel like an expert. I mean, I felt like I knew more than I did going into it, but
that's great.
yeah.
So was it
That's
worth
good.
it, and how long did it take you?
You know, it was, you know, I went through just, it was just like free video, you know, little videos that you snippets. And then, I would, how long did that take me? Maybe like an hour, hour and a half.
No, that's not bad.
That's not
Oh
bad at all.
no, it's totally worth it to just feel like, okay, I get what they're saying now. So
Cool.
yeah,
Well,
I mean, I would say definitely go. I mean, if you're interested in it, to take a look.
I wonder if they update it and how often.
Yeah, I don't know.
I would think they'd almost have to. As fast as they change licensing, sometimes it's got to be a nonstop process.
Right.
Agree. Agree.
All right. Well, I think we're just about out of time. So, there's one more slide. The next Power Platform Conference. So it is Mandalay Bay, Las Vegas, and I think it's the first week of October. Does that sound right, Asif?
I remember two different things altogether. I thought it was like October 23rd, and I thought it was MGM, but I guess maybe I have different information for a different conference. As you can see, I'm at a conference today, so things are just all melded in my mind right now. I don't know.
Okay, so they announced it at the beginning of the conference. Does anyone else remember?
Try to look it up too.
Yolanda, yeah.
Yeah, I know I won't be there. They won't send me. So,
They won't send you?
oh heck no.
Why not?
Our budgets are extremely tight right now. So, yeah, not happening.
Well, we will always share everything that we have. So
Appreciate it.
I don't have the
Yolanda, do
exact
you
date.
remember what they said?
Don't. Just remember October, Vegas, but I don't remember. No. And I don't see anything.
I'll take either one of those, MGM or Mandalay Bay. They're both a blast. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't remember, and I surprisingly didn't write it down.
Yeah, it's not on their site either right now. With
Mm-mm.
if you go to powerplatformconf.com, it would have the next one, but nope.
Yeah,
Just the
we'll
stuff
be
from this
talking
year.
about it a lot though, I'm sure, as it comes up. So I've already like told them, like, put that in your budget. I need to be there next year.
Yeah. Very
All
cool.
right. Well, I think we're out of time. Anyone else have anything they want to add? No? Thanks for coming.
Thanks for putting this on and
Yeah.
for all the updates from the conference. For those of us who don't get to go, it's very helpful.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you guys later.
Absolutely.
All right.
Take
Have a good
care.
day.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.